Janet, you coming on? All right, Tom, so let me start. She's clicking on right now.
Yep.
Time having arrived. It's 2:03 on Thursday, March 17th.
That's a slip.
March 24th. That holiday stuck in my head, Tom. Time have arrived. It's 2:03. It's March 24th. And please note that Brockton Housing Authority records all its meetings. Chair, Timothy J. Sullivan, Vice Chair, Ernest Pettiford, Member, Janet R. Trask, Treasurer, Carol Roberts. I'm sure everybody has the agenda. I have to do a roll call for quorum. Tim Sullivan is here. Ernest Pettiford,
Here.
Janet Trask,
Here.
Carol Roberts.
Here.
We have a quorum. We have 100%. I'm going to read off Governor Baker's COVID-19. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and state of emergency, on March 12, 2020, Governor Baker issued an executive order temporarily suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 20. Pursuant to the order, public bodies are temporarily relieved from the open meeting law's requirements that meetings be held in public places, open and physically accessible to the public, so long as measures are taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberations through adequate and alternative means. On April 1st, 2021, that order was extended till April 1st, 2022. The Brockton Housing Authority will meet virtually on Thursday, March 24th, 2022 at 2 p.m. Due to social distancing guidelines related to the COVID-19 state of emergency, this meeting will be held remotely, not at the Brockton Housing Authority's offices. The public is invited to view and/or listen to the meeting via phone, computer, laptop, or tablet. To do so, download the Zoom Cloud Meeting app in any app store or at www.zoom.us at 2 o'clock on March 24th. Link http://zoom.us/i/85810023694. You may also join by calling conference line at 1-646-558-8656 at 2 o'clock on March 24th, 2020, and enter the meeting ID number 85810023694, passcode 785492, followed by the pound sign. The board chair will instruct the participants on the appropriate time and manner for public comment during the meeting. If we could all rise for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the
of the United States of America and to the republic
which
for
is
which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 1, roll call, Mr. Tebow.
Commissioner Roberts,
Here.
Commissioner Trask,
Here.
Commissioner Pettiford,
Here.
and Mr. Chairman.
Here. I just want to, we're taking item 8 out of order, which is the appointment of the asset manager too. The reason is she's on her lunch hour. She's sitting in the car and has to get back to work. Tom, if we can do item 8, appointment of asset manager number 2, out of order.
Yes, sir. If I could ask Mr. Plouffe to speak on this issue first.
Thank you, Mr. Tebow, members of the board. Due to the promotion of Lillian Antonor, who is asset manager 2 to asset manager 1, we posted internally and advertised in the Brockton Enterprise and online and on our website to fill the vacant position. Mr. Sheedy and myself with a screening committee. We had a number of qualified people apply, both in-house and out of house. We interviewed 5 candidates. After the initial interviews, we brought 2 back for a second interview. And it was clear that Alexandra, you go by Ally?
Yeah,
Ally Lawler was by far the best candidate. As you can see from her resume, she has a bachelor's from Bridgewater State and a master's from Cambridge College. She's a licensed social worker. She's worked in the field both for Father Bills for several years and now for the Newton Housing Authority during the pandemic. Also, she piloted a program at one of her jobs at Atria Health to help why people weren't keeping up with their health, with their doctor's appointments and with their specialist appointments, and found out that housing was one of the main causes. I checked her references. They both gave her glowing references. And Mr. Sheedy and I were both very impressed with her thoughtful answers and the way she conducted herself during the interviews.
I would like to add to that Ms. Lawler's application to the Housing Authority looks extremely attractive, where she has the technical side, where she knows how the programs work, rent recertifications, the bureaucracy, but she also has worked on the soft side, working with our residents, which to this board I know is extremely important. And so she can look at the residents and understand she has a job to do with the responsibility to HUD or to DHCD, but her primary responsibility is to our residents. And so we do recommend her highly.
On item 8, we need a motion and a second from somebody.
Make a motion to appoint Law Lawless of Abington, Mass. To the position of Assets Management effective April 11th, 2022 at the step 1 annual salary of $60,421.
Second.
A motion has been made by Commissioner Ernest Pettiford, seconded by Commissioner Carol Roberts. Motion is to appoint Alexandra Lawler of Abington, Mass. To the position of Asset Manager 2, effective April 11, 2022, at the step 1 annual salary rate of $60,421. Any questions or discussion on the motion?
Janet, you're on mute.
Did you have a question, Janet?
No, not a question, a comment. I can make it after.
Okay. Hearing none. Roll call, Mr. Tebow?
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Trask,
Yes.
Commissioner Pettiford,
Yes,
and Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Motion carries unanimous. Welcome aboard, Ally.
thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to it. I really appreciate the opportunity. So thank
You
you.
have a very impressive resume and you look like a real people person. And I mean, you look like one physically, but also reading what you've done. I mean, it's clear that you work well with people and you want to help people. So glad to have you with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you,
Ally.
Ally, and yep, I know you're conscientious work. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Sullivan, I apologize.
And I just wanted to say, say it to every single new person or even a promotion, that we as a board think of our residents as number one. Without the residents, if we don't have the residents, we don't need you or me. They have to come first. Just so you realize, and I'm sure you already do, that anybody can have a bad day at any particular time. And we have to overlook all this stuff. And
Of course.
our main job is supplying apartments for people. That's what we do. Welcome aboard, Ellie.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Ally. If you were here, we'd shake your hand and get to see you, but we hope to see you shortly. I know you're a conscientious worker, so you want to get back to work, and we will see you shortly. I know Mr. Plouffe will be in touch, or you'll be in touch with Mr. Plouffe.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank
All right.
you.
Ellie, you can
Great
stay
day.
on and watch if you want.
All right.
Unless you
Thank
have to
you.
go.
Yeah.
Probably wants to get
Bye.
out of her car.
Thank
Item
you.
2. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 24th, 2022. Exhibit H in your packets. Mr. Tebow?
I have reviewed the minutes and I have found them to be in order. I would recommend that they be approved as presented.
A second,
Ernie, was that a motion or a second?
motion accept, second.
We need a motion as well.
So
Okay,
moved. Did you hear me, Tim?
Yes,
So
I did.
moved. Okay.
I've got a motion from Commissioner Carol Roberts and a second from Commissioner Ernest Pettiford. Motion is to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of February 24th, 2022 as written. Any questions or discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call, Mr. Tebow?
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Trask,
Yes,
Commissioner Pettiford,
yes,
and Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Motion carries unanimous. Item 3, hearing of visitors. Any member of the public is invited to speak before the board. Visitors wishing to be heard will be allowed 3 minutes to speak on each subject. The board will take any issue under advisement and respond at a later date. Total time for hearing of visitors will be limited to 15 minutes. Are there any hearing of visitors?
If you would like to speak, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself. Mr. Chairman, I do not see any visitors who would like to speak.
Hearing none. Item 4, correspondence. Mr. Tebow.
There's one piece of correspondence in your packet. That is a letter on your behalf to Alan Pesovich, thanking her for her generous donation to establish a library at the Campbell High Rise. There's no action that needs to be taken on that.
I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that Alan Pesovich is a retired worker for the Brockton Housing Authority. She's been gone a couple of years now, but she thought of her own to start this library at Campbell A and B, mainly because she lives in Campbell with you, Janet. And it was a really, really nice thing to do. I just wanted to thank her again.
He was a board member also for a number of years,
And a teacher at the high school.
and a teacher at the high school.
Item 5. Approval of the bills of the regular meeting of March 24th, 2022, Exhibit B in your packets. Commissioner Roberts.
Yes, I reviewed the bills and saw everything that was in order, and I make a motion to approve the bills for March 24th, 2022.
second,
A motion has been made by Commissioner Carol Roberts, seconded by Commissioner Janet Trask. Motion is to approve the bills of the regular meeting of March 24th, 2022 as presented. Any questions or discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call, Mr. Tebow?
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Trask,
yes,
Commissioner Pettiford,
yes,
Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Motion carries unanimous. Item 6, approval of the amended intergovernmental agreement between the Brockton Housing Authority and the Cambridge Housing Authority, Exhibit C in your packets. Mr. Tebow?
So our first agreement with the Cambridge Housing Authority brought us through the application to get us to this point with the Campbell High Rise. They have performed that. Now that we've been successful, we want to extend that agreement so that they will be with us right up until hopefully the day where we do a ribbon cutting and celebrate the new Campello complex, whatever it may be. So this is simply the extension of that. For those of you who have met the people from, some of the people from Cambridge, they're very, very competent. And the reason that I'm extremely excited about this is usually you would do this with a for-profit developer. And obviously the for-profit is what they're there for. They want to make a lot of money. That's not why Cambridge is here. Cambridge is here because it is a mission. They want to create housing. They want to make housing better. So the partnership, the synergies between the two agencies is wonderful. And then right down to the very simple thing that the executive director of the Cambridge Housing Authority grew up in the Campello section of Brockton. There's really a commitment to the complex in the city. So I highly recommend that we approve this and move forward on this exciting project.
I'd like to say one thing before we make a motion, Tom, that I was lucky enough to go to a meeting with this Cambridge Housing Authority. We took a tour of, I'm pretty sure it was 3 buildings. With Carol Ross was there, Susan DeCastro was there. And it was about a dozen people, but it was, the work that they're doing up there is almost unbelievable. I couldn't even explain. I have pictures. If somebody wants to see it, I can somehow get the pictures to you. But it was absolutely beautiful what the work they've done. And the big unit was over 300 apartments in one building. I forget how many stories it was, Tom, but it was a lot
19,
higher than Campello.
there were 19 stories.
Wow.
And they have done this completely over. And this is what we do. We supply apartments for people. And I wouldn't mind living in those apartments. They were nice. And it was just a nice day, Tom. Everything was, they fed us lunch up there. They took us on tours. We had a bus driving us around to different places. And it was really, really nice. And what a nice job it is. We need a motion on item 6 and a second.
So moved.
Second it.
A motion has been made by Commissioner Janet Trask, seconded by Commissioner Ernest Pettiford. Motion is to approve the amended intergovernmental agreement between the Brockton and Cambridge Housing Authorities originally entered into as of April 20th, 2020, to include all services related to the rehabilitation, renovation, reconfiguration, or replacement of the Campello High Rise. MA 024-24-6. Any questions or discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call, Mr. Tebow?
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Trask,
Yes.
Commissioner Pettiford,
Yes.
and Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Motion carries unanimous. Item 7, appointment of maintenance mechanics, Exhibit D in your packets. Mr. Tebow?
If I could ask Mr. Plouffe to speak on this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Tebow, members of the board. Due to several retirements of mechanics and assistant foreman and foreman, we have been consistently working through and making promotions to get our staff at the appropriate levels. We posted in-house for the position of mechanic. Mr. DeChristopher and I interviewed. After the interviews, We agreed that Dan Smith of West Bridgewater would be an appropriate candidate for mechanic. Dan has been with us since 2017. We last appointed mechanics in 2019, and he had just missed out because the requirement is that you have to have worked here for 2 years as a mechanic aide in order to be a mechanic. So he didn't get it that time. And Dan is very well qualified. He works on the vacancy prep crew. And actually, the work he's doing, the foreman takes half the crew and Dan takes the other half of the crew, and they split up and they go do to different developments to do their vacants. He might be on a different day, if there aren't enough vacants, be doing special projects as assigned by the foreman of the vacancy crew or Mr. DeChristopher. Prior to coming here, you can see from his resume, he's had leadership and supervisory positions at a condominium complex where he was in charge of a crew and a larger crew when they had to bring on summer help for landscaping. So he's used to one of the duties of a mechanic is to be able to run a crew in their building or in the vacancy crew as he's doing now. You can see Dan's a larger man than he looks on the TV here because he's in such a big room and the camera is so far away from him. But he does hard work for us, and he's one of those Energizer Bunny type employees that doesn't stop.
Tom, I didn't realize there was somebody in the, I thought it was empty.
No,
That's
It's so
Dan.
hard to see.
Dan, give us a wave.
Dan's.
He's alive.
And if I could add to that, Dan has, as Tom said, has been here since 2017. The only criticism I've heard of him is that he never stops. He works and works and works and works, and he's done some great stuff for us. He's also involved in, with his children. He's a football coach for his kids. He is a big man, so he won't appreciate this, but I did see a picture in the Enterprise of him about 4 feet off the field as one of his kids scored a touchdown. So it just speaks to his character of what type of person he is. And I think he's a real compliment to the Housing Authority. And I think he has a long career here, and this will not be his last stop.
Tom, we had on recommended action, there's 2 names here.
No, just Dan Smith. We're recommending Dan Smith.
The
So the
other name,
recommend action would be, let me just read it. A recommend action, move to that Dan Smith of West Bridgewater be appointed a maintenance mechanic effective March 28th, 2022, at the step 1 rate of $33.01 per hour.
we need a motion and a second, item 7.
So move.
Second,
A motion has been made by Commissioner Carol Roberts, seconded by Commissioner Janet Trask. Motion is to appoint Daniel Smith of West Bridgewater, Mass. To the position of maintenance mechanic effective March 28, 2022, at the step 1 rate of $33.01 per hour. Roll call, Mr. Tebow.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Trask,
Tom, hang on. Is there any questions or discussion on that motion? Hearing none. Go ahead, Tom. And Carol Roberts is a yes.
Carol Roberts, yes. Commissioner Trask,
yes.
Commissioner Pettiford,
yes,
and Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Motion carries unanimous.
Congratulations, Dan.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Dan, I can barely see you, but I know you're in the room. I just want to tell you the same thing I told to the new girl. The
Yeah,
board treats our residents as number 1. We always put them first. They have to be treated with care, and our main job is to supply an apartment for them to live.
I understand that very, very truly. I do. Thank you very much.
And Dan, the whole point is, if we don't have the residents, we don't need you or me. They come first.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. Normally we'd shake your hands. We
Yep,
can't do it remotely. Welcome aboard.
thank you very much.
And I do want to say to Dan's primary responsibility here over the last couple of years has been to make sure that the units are ready so that we are tenanting new people as quickly as possible. So he does realize that because he hears it every day from Vinny. How turn it around, get it ready, get it ready.
Well, thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Next item is item 8, which we've already taken care of. We did that first. We took it out of order. Next item is item 9. Review of 2021 Performance Manager Review, PMR report, Exhibit F in your packets. Mr. Tebow?
So once a year, DHCD does what they call a performance management review, and it's an evolving report. This is what they call a desk review, and we have done fine on everything except on reserves. They have us an operational guidance on reserves, which is a bit frustrating because, as you know, we're doing everything we can to maintain our state units, not improve them, to maintain them. And the funds that they provide for this just are not enough to do it. And that's why we're doing a lot of things that we're doing. We are going to have next Tuesday a in-person review where they'll come, they'll take a look at our work order system, which is fine. Mr. DeChristopher has made sure that's in good order. And they'll go out and take a look at some of our units. They'll take a look at some of our sites. And we'll hopefully use this as an opportunity to lobby for some special funds for our state portfolio. As I have said to you in the past, our goal is, because the state has for decades and decades and decades underfunded these programs, is to federalize the program. But that's a distant goal, 3 to 5 years, hopefully. So that I'm sharing with you. I believe they had sent this to you as board members, but it is something that you should vote that you've reviewed it, that you've received it and put it on file. And I'll answer any questions you have about it.
We need a motion and a second. Item 9.
So move.
Second,
A motion has been made by Commissioner Carol Roberts, seconded by Commissioner Janet Kraft. Motion is to accept the Performance Management Review Desk Audit Summary issued by the Department of Housing and Community Development for fiscal year 2021 and put on file. Any questions or discussions on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call, Mr. Tebow?
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Trask,
yes.
Commissioner Pettiford,
yes,
and Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Motion carries unanimous. Item 10, award of contract on-call interior painting and wall preparation for vacant units, Exhibit G in your packets. Mr. Tebow?
If I could ask Mr. DeChristopher to speak on this, please.
Thank you, Mr. Tebow. This contract is for on-call interior painting and wall prep for vacant BHA units. On February 23rd, 2022, the Brockton Housing Authority advertised for qualified painting contractors for vacant BHA units for work that cannot be done performed by current staff. This work was to be awarded to 3 responsive and responsible bidders that met the qualifications set in the bid pack. This is a 1-year contract not to exceed $100,000 for the duration of the contract. On March 10th, 2022, submission deadline, we received 1 bid as reflected in the daily bid tally sheet. The low and only responsive bidder was Busquets Contracting of 221 Anawan Street, Brockton. Bids were advertised in the Central Register, Combis, the Enterprise. 15 companies received bid packs and only 1 was submitted, and that was Busquets Contracting of Brockton. I recommend a motion be made to award the contract in the amount not to exceed $100,000 to Bousquet Contracting of Brockton.
We need a motion and a second, item 10.
So moved.
second,
A motion has been made by Commissioner Ernest Pettiford, seconded by Commissioner Carol Roberts. Motion is to award a 1-year contract in the amount not to exceed $100,000 to Biscuit Contracting of Brockton, Mass. for an on-call interior painting and wall preparation of vacant Brockton Housing Authority units. Any questions or discussion on the motion? Just one, Vinnie, are they already DCAM certified?
They don't need to be, because they don't need to be under this contract. But they do have to, there's other requirements they did fulfill according to the procurement law.
Any other questions? Roll call, Mr. Tebow?
Commissioner Roberts,
yes,
Commissioner Trask,
yes,
Commissioner Pettiford,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes. That motion carries unanimous. Item 11. Executive Director's Report, Exhibit H in your packets. Mr. Tebow?
Okay, I have several things that I would like to speak about that aren't in the report, the written report, and I'll comment on one of the items and then answer any questions you may have. Just as an update, Tom Pluff and I participated in a financial training for the Housing Authority as we move to the new program, Moving to Work, MTW. It was the second part of a financial training we had, and about the changes that we have to do to our books. For this board, what the most important concept to understand is that we can now use money within our public housing program to help Section 8. We can now use Section 8 money to help public housing. We can use capital money to help, they're interchangeable now. There's lots of benefits to do that, to doing that. But obviously you have to account for that the right way. We have to do some work with our software to make sure that's up to date. And then we're going to have to do continued staff training. But another thing, and this is something I've said, I believe, to this board and to our staff, if you think a regulation doesn't make sense or is making your job hard, this program allows us to say, well, how else can we do it? And we can apply to HUD and say, we want to do it a different way that makes sense. We have to bring it to the public. We have to bring it to our residents first, which we will be doing this summer. Any waivers we request, we'll be working with that over the summer. So it's a huge benefit to the Housing Authority, but there's a lot of work to go into it. Yesterday, I believe it was yesterday or yesterday, we got our final draft of the physical needs analysis down at the Campello High Rise. And I will make copies of it's 1,300 something pages.
wow.
Oh, yes, yeah, it's detailed,
Wow.
very, very detailed. I haven't read all 13. A lot of pictures. There are a lot of pictures. You can flip through those pages, but there is an executive summary that's 3 pages long that I will share with you. But what it says is that it would be irresponsible to rehabilitate the Campello High Rise. That the moving forward, that we will be considering new construction. We thought that. I've led you to believe that we were going based on what I've seen, but this final report is very clear. That's the direction we have to work towards. We are going to, it's tentative right now. Mr. Sheedy's working with Melissa O'Malley. We are looking to have some public meetings at the Campello High Rise on April 7th. We'll do something of this at these inexact times as we get them. I'll share them with you, but something like 1 o'clock meeting at the Campello A building, a 2:30 meeting at the Campello B building, a 5:30 meeting at 5 o'clock meeting at the Campello A building, and a 6:30 meeting at the Campello B building, so that we have 4 meetings It'll be to introduce all of the architects, the people from Cambridge, obviously, and just talk about timelines so people have an understanding on what's going to be happening there. And it's important. We will be setting up a camera and streaming it for people who don't want to come down to the community room, but would like to watch it on Zoom. So we have a long process in front of us. It's our responsibility to go hand in hand with our residents so that they understand. Fred Welsh did tell me yesterday, he spoke to a resident at the Camp LB building who had taken some pictures off his wall and was packing. In a good way, he was anxious. I want to get to this new place, but we need to let them know about the timeline. And then just one other thing, the Finance Committee of the Council voted out on Monday night for the procurement relief on this project. It will go to the council next Monday night. Councilor Castro said she will shepherd it through that. And then hopefully the mayor will sign it quickly and it will go into the State House to get this procurement relief, which will save us, 10, 15, $20 million on this project, all which will go into the project. So it would all be soft cost type items that will save because we have this relief. So that's all the positive stuff. I should have ended on that, but there's just one other thing I think this board needs to know. We are negotiating with the bond company for the waterproofing at Caffrey. We got a response yesterday from them that has not been thoroughly vetted, but it wasn't what we wanted. So we've been doing everything we can to avoid going to court with this company, but I can't promise that. I can't explain their behavior from a year ago, and I can't explain their behavior today, but we are moving through with that, and it's been frustratingly slow. I think it's taken 2 or 3 years off Mr. Barry's life. Four. But it is, as I said, we are working through that, and it's an important job, and it's a good percentage done. But we'll continue to do whatever we have to get that done.
Tom,
Yes.
two comments. So regarding the financial part that you talked about at the beginning, so it's like everything's in one big pot, the money?
Well, it comes in 3 pots. We then put it into one pot, and then we have to track it wherever it goes from there.
Okay.
So in the end, they have to know what it came in for, and then when we can combine it all, then where we spent it. And when we do that, so let's say we're saying, well, we're going to move some money from the Section 8 program to the public housing so that we can make some improvements in public housing. We have to go to the public. We have to say that we're doing that. We have to show exactly what the benefits are. Then we haven't gone through this training, but we know on a higher level that we have to track what was the benefit. Were we better because we did that?
What do you mean by the public?
The public, we advertise it in the newspaper, have public meetings. Mainly the RAB would be the conduit to the residents. That's the most important segment of the public. But when I say the public, it's a public meeting. Anybody who wants to come can come.
Okay, got it. And the other thing, will we be inviting neighbors to the meetings regarding the Campello high rise?
Not this one, because we couldn't tell the neighbors really anything right now, but we will be doing that as we know what kind of disruption we will be doing in the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
But this right now is for the residents, just to let them know, hey, this is what we're talking about. And here's some realistic timelines, and here's how you can be involved. One of the wonderful things that happened is we have sent out, and Dennis, you might know the number. We sent out 400 surveys, 398 or whatever it is, the occupied units there, and we got a tremendous amount back. Do you know, Dennis, the number?
I don't know the accurate number, no.
All right. Well, I know the architects and the engineers were very impressed with the percentage that came back. So the residents and we were asking, what's wrong with your units? So that's easy, right? They know what's wrong with their units. And what would you like to see? And they gave them some a menu of stuff to pick from and then others. So it was really something that impressed. So the residents are with us right now. And when I say with us, they are anxious to get whatever improvements they can get done.
So we're all on the same team.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be important. Carol and I had a long conversation about that yesterday, and we're all on the same team. If we're doing something the residents don't want, it won't happen. I can guarantee it.
Okay, Tom,
Yes.
when you have that meeting with Campello, can I come down?
Oh, absolutely. I will notify the board of it. All the board members will be
Okay.
invited. You won't be able to act as a board. Obviously, that would be a violation of the.
No, just as a tenant.
No, you come in as a, we'll introduce you and but it's for, again, to make a presentation to the residents and answer any questions they may have.
And the reason I'm asking, because I want to hear with my own ears, because I think there are tenants in here who hear what's going on in Campello, just spreading some false information.
That's, yeah, and it's not malicious usually. It's, they hear
No, it's
something.
not, but it's misleading.
Yes, no, that
It's
happens. That's one of our jobs, is to make sure that we get the word out there as accurately and in timely as possible on a regular basis.
Okay, thank you.
Tom, did I hear you right? You're talking about tearing down Campbell A and B?
Yes, yes.
There's no more rehabilitating the building?
And I will share the report with you. I'll give you one example of a concern. The building is clad in clad in a way that's loaded with asbestos. The flooring has asbestos. And we're going to have to go right down to the steel beams. We're going to have to disturb all that asbestos. To do that with residents in the building is irresponsible. I don't know if we could protect them. So I mean, I'm sure we could for millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, but it doesn't become practical. And the reason we have to go down to the steel studs is the building wasn't built the right way. It didn't meet 1970 code versus, never mind 2022. And if you have, I have a file behind me of newspaper articles that says it wasn't built the right way from 1972, 73.
What
Tom,
about
won't
the
that
people, Tom?
be a concern of neighbors too, as far as asbestos being laid out raw near them?
All right, so I'll answer the final question on Commissioner Sullivan, then I'll answer that one. So the people, this actually works out better for them. The process that we're looking at doing is building a brand new building and then taking all the people who live in the A building and moving everybody to that new building and then tearing down the A building. Then building a brand new building where the A building sits or thereabouts and moving everybody from the B building into that new building and then tearing it down. So we won't have to displace people at all. It works out a lot better for us. Chris went through a transfer of 14 residents at Caffrey Towers on Tuesday, and that's a long, long day. Lots of individual issues on it. So if we can say to the residents, just stay put if you want, and we'll take care of it, then that's the best way. So that's another benefit of not having the rehab in place. And then Commissioner Trask, to your answer, yes, we would have to do whatever the EPA says. But remember, the closest neighbors are on Montello Ave Extension. So they're probably 300 yards away versus someone who's 20 feet down the hall. So yes, we will have to mitigate whatever we do. There'll be, and Chris could speak to that better, but whenever we do it in an existing apartment, you'll see this big negative air door put up, so no air can come out at all. The people go in spacesuits and they do their work. They have to bag up this stuff in a special way. So there'll be some of that. Yes, we'll have to, whatever the EPA standards are for 2000, hopefully 23, 24. We will have to abide by all those.
Thank you.
We need a motion and a second on item 11.
So move.
Second,
A motion has been made by Commissioner Ernest Pettifat, seconded by Commissioner Carol Roberts. Motion is to accept the Executive Director's Report for March 24th, 2022, and put on file. Any questions or discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call, Mr. Tebow?
Commissioner Roberts,
yes.
Commissioner Trask,
Yes,
Commissioner Pettifat,
Yes.
and Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Motion carries unanimous. Item 12. Approval of change order number 1, water closet replacement, Manning Tower Project 24-3, and Sullivan Tower Project 24-8. Exhibit I in your packets. Mr. Tebow?
Just for the layman, water closet is a toilet. If I could ask Mr. Barry to speak on it.
Thank you, Mr. Tebow. Good afternoon, board members. And at the beginning of the water closet installation for Sullivan Tower, Nancy Macedo of the Capital Improvements realized that the water closets being installed were not the proper height and stopped the Gillion Plumbing from installing the water closets. After a review of all the documents, it was determined that the water closets specified and approved submission were not the proper height for Sullivan Tower. Additionally, at the same time, we checked the Manning Tower and found that the Manning Tower toilet was also incorrect and was needed to be exchanged. TVA Architects, the firm representing the authority, worked with Gillion Plumbing to assess the returns and returns necessary in reordering of the proper water closets for both Manning and Sullivan Tower. We would recommend to approve change order 1 in the amount of $16,099.20 and a 38-day time extension to Gillion Plumbing and Heating of 32 Staff Road, Saugus, Mass. For the above mentioned project.
We need a motion, item 11. And a second.
So move.
second,
A motion has been made by Commissioner Carol Roberts, seconded by Commissioner Janet Trask. Motion is to approve change order number 1 in the amount of $16,099.20 and a 38-day time extension to the contract with Gillion Plumbing and Heating Services Incorporated for water closet replacements at Manning Tower, Project 24-3, Sullivan Tower, Project 24-8. Any questions or discussion on the motion?
so does that mean that the original person who measured them like blew it?
The height is the Sullivan Tower was the height. So the numbers, unfortunately, these numbers are too close to each other when you start looking at model numbers. And they were specified, originally supposed to be specified as a 16-inch ADA accessible height. And they came in as a standard toilet. So it's at the Sullivan Tower, we had 28 of them already open and started to be putting in. That's the bulk of the change order, is the day that they spent taking them all out of the box, putting them together, putting some of them in, taking some of them back out, and then not being able to return those toilets. So that those 28 toilets, we've actually moved over to maintenance for maintenance use in the federal developments. So,
So they could use them eventually?
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's good.
they just won't take a return from them once they come out of the box.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
Chris, did somebody measure wrong or mistake on paperwork or what actually happened?
it appears that the paperwork issue became the problem. The measurements, again, were always supposed to be, and there was, you go back and forth, and its ADA requirement was from the beginning, 16 inches in height. Same with this Manning Tower was before they even put them in. It was a not to exceed 30-inch toilet. We don't care what toilet it is, just don't, the width of it. The reason being is the toilet, the doors hitting the fronts of the toilets. Over the years, when they originally here, they weren't ADA, when they're ADA, they have a elongated bowl on them. When these buildings were built, they have a round bowl, so you never have an issue with the door. So that was Manning's issue, and they said, this is the maximum length you can have. And they ended up accepting another one, but never realized the length. All they went was by, now they only went by, okay, this is a rear discharge, left flush, and it's an oblong front. And that's what they ended up approving and not looking at the exact measurement of it.
So does Gliona lose money?
He did lose money. Everyone did. So, the supplier and, they recovered some of their money, but obviously when they're delivering them from multiple places to get the quantity for us, then they have 125 toilets as opposed to only having 15 or 20 on hand. So now they got to ship them back out somewhere else again. So, Galona, obviously, Gilliam, sorry, they lost as well. They lost as much as labor as well too.
So it sounds like, Chris, that the answer is that in the specifications, the architect, whoever wrote it up, didn't write it up clear enough that we could say to the contractor, no, you read the plans wrong.
Correct. And again, once it was submitted in, they should have picked it up again on the second time around. They didn't. So.
But no cost to us.
It does cost to us. That's what the 16,000. That's our cost.
We have $16,000 in toilets and in some
Yeah.
labor that we didn't need. We have the toilets that we can use as replacements, but it's not something, so we have them in storage and we will use them, but we would have preferred to have done it another way.
Right.
But it could be worse. 16,000 is not the end of the world, I guess.
Yeah, it's not a, but I won't opine too much, but because things are so busy, we're finding that the plans of our of engineers, architects are getting sloppier.
Really? Wow.
There's just so much work out there.
Chris, the TBA architects?
Yeah.
Are they new to us?
They are new to us. They were one of our indefinite quantities. Obviously one of the problems we get architects, and that was a toilet replacement, which is an engineer has to get involved with it. So a lot of the drawings of the building, the drawings of the room, and that was all done through the architect, but the actual specification was done through the engineer, because he's the one that puts a stamp on the toilet part of it. So.
Chris, I'm not a lawyer by any means. I know Tom Pluff is, but isn't the architect responsible for this? Where they made the mistake?
It would be into a litigation. This one here would be a back and forth on this one. Because now we'd have to go after two different architects, engineers involved with it. it is one that would take some time.
And I can answer that, Commissioner. We do make these decisions. As you hear, sometimes they make them in lawsuits. We would have to sue the contractor or sue this architect engineer. It's not exactly clear. He would argue, or the firm would argue, that they think they were clear, that it was the responsibility of the contractor to read it a different way. We would probably spend, well, we would easily spend well in excess of the $16,000 on attorney's fees. And, you know, usually in these things, if you get your best outcome, is they would say, we'll reduce it by half and you guys pay 8,000 and the other company eat 8,000.
Could I say that lawyers have to eat also?
I'm not saying that the lawyers aren't charging, you know, for time they didn't do, but when you get into these things, once you get into the court system, it's a long protracted item. So, and again, there's not I would not say this architect made a mistake that's very grievous. It was be more clear. The most difficult thing in procurement that I see is the clarity of the plans, how people read them. And they're fairly complicated, even for a small job like this.
Who would know toilets are so complicated?
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the worst projects we have.
If I could just opine for a second, it's one of the reasons why on Campello, we have asked and the board has approved to go with the construction manager at risk, which is to bring a contractor on the team early on to review the architect's work so that these types of misunderstandings are caught very early, especially in a big job like that.
Well, there was a pandemic, I suppose,
Uh,
to give people some
Yeah.
slack, or was this before
Yeah.
that?
Well, one of the things you also got to look at is there's 122 units over there. So you're dealing with 122 toilets just for that one development. So even if you're getting charged $10 or $20 just to do a restocking fee, you got to add that time, you know, the 122. Then you got 96 units over here. So again, if you have any restocking fee on there, again, everything's multiplied. You don't think of it at first, you know, oh, it's only, you know, it's $150 toilet. Yeah, but it's everything times 122 or 96 units. So
And Commissioner Trask, I just want to let you know on the COVID thing, that's what all our funding agencies are using as excuses for not being able to turn anything around. So we don't accept it.
I know.
Chris, one final question.
Yep.
On the 38-day time extension,
Yep.
does that, what is that the cost of the mechanics putting these in? And taking them
The time extension is just that when we award a contract, we say he's got 180 days to complete. If he doesn't complete in 180 days, we either hit him with liquidated damages because they did something wrong, or we give them extension because for ordering times, okay? Because of the COVID, the pandemic, there's days that not your normal order time is supposed to be, say, 2 weeks. And if it's taking you 60 days to get materials, that's completely out of their hands, you know? So that's where that most of those days came from.
If I could add, just answer that generically. So we say you have a certain amount of time. We expect you to get it done. We understand things can happen, but it has to come back to the board. They have to tell us why it's taken extra time, and it has to be a legitimate reason. Could be many different reasons. But that's why it comes back to the board and we say, look, this took 38 more days. We have determined those are legitimate days. There was something that they had no control over, and therefore we say it's all right. If you don't do that, then they just leave and go to other jobs and they come back to you when they feel like it.
Tom, what I was driving, is there any labor costs involved in that
No.
time?
No,
No
it's a no
cost.
cost, no cost, sorry.
We had a motion and a second. It was Spencer. You want me to read it off again? Does anybody? We need a roll call, Mr. Tebow.
Commissioner Roberts,
yes,
Commissioner Trask, you're on mute.
yes,
Commissioner Pettiford,
yes,
and Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Motion carries. Unanimous. Item 13. Approval of certificate of completion, consolidated and certificate of release, water closet replacement, Manning Tower, project 24-3, and Sullivan Tower, project 24-8. Exhibit J in your packet. Mr. Tebow?
Thank you. If I could ask Mr. Barry to speak on this, please.
Thank you, Mr. Tebow. TBA Architects, the firm representing the authority, has deemed Gileo Plumbing and Heating Services Incorporated of 32 Staff Road in Saugus, Mass, complete as of January 26, 2022 for the 24-3 Manning Tower and 24-8 Sullivan Tower Water Closet Replacement Project as per the plans and specifications. TBA also confirmed that the construction work meets the applicable codes and that Gileo Plumbing and Heating Services Incorporated has completed the punch list items. We would recommend to approve the certificate of completion consolidated and the certificate of release from Gileo Plumbing and Heating Services of 32 Staff Road in Saugus, Mass for the 24-3, 24-8 Sullivan Tower water closet replacement project.
We need a motion and a second. Item 13.
so move,
And a second.
second,
A motion has been made by Commissioner Ernest Pettiford, seconded by Commissioner Janet Trask. Motion is to approve the certificate of completion, consolidated and certificate of release to the contract of Gileo Plumbing and Heating Services Incorporated for the water closet replacement at Manning Tower, project 24-3, and Sullivan Tower, project 24-8. Any questions or discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call, Mr. Tebow?
Commissioner Roberts. You're on mute, Commissioner Roberts.
yes,
Commissioner Trask,
yes,
Commissioner Pettiford,
yes,
Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Motion carries. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Item 14, old business. Any old business? Hearing none. Item 15, new business.
If I may,
Any new
Mr.
business?
Chairman. As you read at the beginning of this meeting, the governor's order for remote meetings ends at April 1st of 2022. So our next meeting, which I believe is April 26th. I don't have a calendar in front of me.
28.
28th, I apologize, 28th, will be held in person. This COVID pandemic has changed day to day, so we will keep you up to date on that, but that's where it stands as of today, as I understand it.
Tom, what about masks?
Well, right now, we have masks optional in our building. If you would like to wear a mask, you can. The board can require it at that meeting. That's fine, which it's the board's purview there.
Can people have the option of Zoom? I know a lot of meetings are doing that because things are still going back and forth with COVID. So, you know, the meetings will say they're in person with a Zoom option. Will that be possible?
We will put Zoom out, absolutely. In Abington, we've been doing that for 3 months now. We Zoom every meeting, but we meet in person. I will look to get clarity on this because,
Okay.
as I said, this changes daily. But as Commissioner Sullivan read right from the beginning, and I think you read from the governor's order, correct, Commissioner Sullivan?
Correct. That's his order.
It ends there. I don't know if he'll update it in the next couple days. I know that the disability community has been really petitioning hard that we continue these meetings so we can meet in person, but always have them via Zoom, because a lot of people with disabilities have trouble getting to the meetings. So I just wanted to put that out there, just so stay tuned and pay attention, because I don't want you showing up if you don't have to, and I don't want you not here if you have, you have to be here.
Tom, would you check on it?
I
To be
certainly
sure.
will. I certainly will.
And I was told that even if they do go Zoom, that the chair has to be present. The chair can't be on Zoom.
Oh,
That may be true. I know that prior to the pandemic, you could do some remote. The chief executive officer of the city had to adopt it, and I think you had to have a quorum at that time. But one person, two people could be at home.
Yeah.
That came about because people who are in the National Guard and that type of thing.
And every city and town is different what they're doing.
Right. So we
Any
could
other
probably
new
do
business?
anything we wanted, but I just want to comply with the law.
No, I know. I do too. Any other new business? Hearing none. Item 16, we need a motion in a second. Don't
motion
leave
to
right away
adjourn?
because we need a roll call.
No.
Was there a second made?
I did not
Second.
hear a second. No, Commissioner Roberts just second.
A motion has been made by Commissioner Janet Trask, seconded by Commissioner Cal Roberts. The motion is to adjourn. Roll call, Mr. Tebow?
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Trask,
Yes.
Commissioner Pettiford,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Enjoy the spring, first spring weekend.
Oh, yeah.